everybody. Welcome to the Gapology Guys podcast, your place for leadership development conversations, where we explore identifying and closing performance gaps, defining a clear and compelling purpose, and the subject of tonight's episode, examining and crafting your identity and mindset to deliver your highest objectives. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. I've been on vacation, so
Yeah, I know.
can't get better than that.
I'm so jealous. Where were you on vacation?
We went to the California desert for tennis and family gathering, and we had a great time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I saw your pictures; those were great. I saw you sporting your Gapology cap.
Of course, there
Trying to,
was 100,000 people there on one day, and I wanted them all to see it. So,
yeah, good. Yeah, so you're out there promoting that, which is awesome, we've got a lot of great topics that we sort of laid out this year, and I apologize. Some things have gone on in our family, which some people know, and that kind of things. For the start of this year, which has sort of created this whole delay in getting us going here. But I appreciate everyone's patience and these podcasts and that kind of thing. But we're ready to go. We're back at it, and we've got a great topic tonight. We're going to talk about IMBAR, which is interesting. So we've really been focusing lately on Gapology, which is our flagship book, the thing that really got us started. But IMBAR is our second book, IMBAR, IMBAR, for those of you who haven't seen that before, which basically stands for identity, mindset, behavior, action, and results, which they all are connected. And tonight we're going to talk about current state IMBAR. So I know you've got a lot of great notes on this stuff, Mark. You want to kick it off?
well, I thought first I'd lead off with I was talking to one of our uh, coaches who does uh, gapology coaching in dentistry and medical in the medical field, and she had recently read IMBAR
Hmm.
and just couldn't believe it in terms of its ability to impact the team she works with and herself. And we had a great conversation. I shared that with you the other day. So
Hmm.
IMBAR is significant. We learned IMBAR during our Gapology work as we were learning Gapology from top performers and bottom performers and contrasting the two. Um, and IMBAR really led us to understand that the identity of the individual determines their performance, their results, and we took it from there. We believe it to be an incredibly underrated book. So we're known for Gapology, but secretly behind the screen, we think we should be known for IMBAR. and and hopefully that day will come, and the world will know IMBAR. But
Absolutely.
let me walk them through it real quick. So we found that in our studies of top performers and underperformers, that their identity determined their results, and it cascaded through identity, which created their mindset, how they think. Identity backing up is who they think they are, which creates mindset, how they think, their attitude, which creates their behaviors. And that creates the actions of the team around them if they're a leader, and that creates the results. And it's an incredible 5 column flow chart that you can work with. But we we then found that IMBAR comes in many different forms. We all have a series of IMBARs. Whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not, we have them and we can control them. So you have a professional IMBAR, which is your work, and you again control that and can achieve whatever results you want to achieve by understanding IMBAR and creating that flow. You then have a personal IMBAR, which is your home, your friends, your family, and it's totally different than your professional IMBAR. There then is an organizational IMBAR that can be created that does exist already, and that's your team or your company's identity, mindset, behavior, action, and results. And then there is situational IMBAR, which we've learned to use, where you can create an IMBAR for a given situation to achieve a given result. So IMBAR is amazing. We have seen it change many people's lives. We have seen it create top performance, performance that was not believed to be achievable. And so today we wanted to talk about the different stages, in essence, of IMBAR. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, big shout out to Jerusha, who is our coach that's out in Trinidad and Tobago. Amazing lady, super smart. For anybody out there that's listening to our podcast regularly, definitely bring her on. She's great. But yeah, so these different IMBARs, it is sort of different when you're looking at these different situations that you're in. As you go through life, you're put in these different situations where you have to look at who am I?
Who am
And
I?
yeah, who am I? Asking that question.
We should
That's
have
a
probably made that the title of the book.
oh, actually maybe that's actually really
Nice,
good.
nice work there. I mean,
Uh,
IMBAR is not known real well because it's IMBAR. It's this sort of unique title, but it's hard to understand what it is. But it is about who am I?
exactly.
Whether you're a leader or whether you're a parent or whether you're an organization, who am I?
Yeah.
IMBAR helps you define that, and you've already defined it. And that's the point of tonight's session is you already have an IMBAR. What is
Hmm.
it? And that becomes the starting point
Hmm.
for who you want to become.
Yeah. And I think in many situations, we don't even really define that for ourselves where we are right now. Who are you right now? If you ask 10 people, I bet 9 out of 10 at least would be really hesitant to have an answer to that question.
Yeah. And that becomes the key. I think top performers likely understand who they are and that without having thought it through, understand that that identity that they currently have is creating the results. I
Hmm.
do think they've connected it without actually knowing it.
Yep.
Um, but if you were going to transform from that, which is what MBAR is all about, to a new level, you have to know where you're at and what that level is to do that. We
Hmm.
found that the underperformers don't connect at all, that they own their identity, and that identity is creating the underperformance that they're achieving.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah. No, totally. That top. So when you look at so in Gapology, we talk about our A, B, and C players, and we talk about the top 10%, bottom 10% are A and C, and the middle percent's kind of that 80%, that's your B players. Your top 10% having that clear identity of who they are really does drive their mindset and behaviors and so forth. And obviously that C group really doesn't know.
Yeah. So when we're coaching someone, a team or a leader or whoever it may be, we really want to start with where they're at. So we call that the current state MBAR. So it's your current identity, who you are, your current mindset, your current behavior, your current actions of those supporting you and around you, and your current results. And that's the current state MBAR. What happens often is people want to jump immediately to this transform state, but they don't know what the
Mhm.
current state is. So the current state is really that starting point. If you're going to transform, you're transforming from what? You have to understand that. So once we have helped an underperformer, as an example, see their current state MBAR, that creates the platform, the foundation for the transformed state. No different than a top performer who wants to transform and achieve a whole nother level of performance. They need to understand their current state in order to achieve the transform state. I
Mhm.
mean, we own who we are. We own it. It wasn't given to us. We can choose, today to be who we want to be, whether it's an individual, again, a professional IMBAR, a personal IMBAR, whether it's an organization, whether it's situationally. We own it and can transform it, but we need to understand the starting point, and that's the current state IMBAR. It's the starting point for transformation. And it can be done very quickly, but you have to be truthful and fully understanding of your current state. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of picture. So I wrote down immediately when you said platform. So I picture, an old train station. You're standing on the platform. The old, locomotive is pulling up to the station that you want to get on because you want to transform to wherever that train's taking you. But you're on this platform right now. You have to understand where you are right now, what that platform is in order to jump on that train and transform.
Yeah. So I guess our first challenge to the group would be to understand where you are.
Hmm.
Where are you? Why are you achieving the results you're achieving? If they're off the charts, define your identity that is creating that. That is of great significance to fully understand. If you're underperforming, you need to understand your current identity because it is creating those results. That the R of IMBAR is being created by the I. It flows through the M, the B, and the A. And it's not that complicated. It may sound it like it is, but it is not. One of the things we designed when we wrote the book IMBAR, which came after Gapology, was a storyboard. And we had leaders fill out a storyboard on who they are, their story. And we had these different columns and categories, and it was a way to help them connect with their current state IMBAR, who they are now, that's achieving the results they're achieving. And that was very helpful. And it it is really again the starting point to transform. Where are you? Who are you? And who do you want to become? Often in an organization, we've found that they need to radically change who they are, potentially change the purpose of the organization and many things in order to create the results that they need to achieve. And all of that is identified in IMBAR. Um, we we believe that it again may be the best work we've done. It was based on Gapology, and there's tons of Gapology fans. Gapology is simpler, but IMBAR is gigantic in terms of its impact, and it can um, it it's there in each of us, and it's there in each of our roles in life, and we control it, and we can change it. But in order to change it, you have to understand where you're at currently. So this transform state is a choice, but it's based upon your current state. You're going to transform from this to this, and that is your choice, but you have to know the stations for the train, right?
Right, right.
You're going
Yeah,
from this point to this point.
yeah. And I think it requires a level of honesty with yourself, who you are. I think that defining where you are today requires you to sort of, I guess, lower the veil from what you want to see, what you desire to see, what you think or what you sort of want to come across to others as. And that honesty is critical to determine, all right, what is that sign at that train station that you're at right now? If you don't lower that veil, you're going to see it through this sort of milky, filmy kind of view. Rose-colored glasses, I guess you'd say. But it requires somebody to be so honest with themselves, with where you are now. Because if you're not going to know where you need to go.
Yeah, what we found that was obvious but a wake up was in every case where we spent time with a top performer, so someone in that top 10% that's outperforming everyone in an organization, every time the reason they were outperforming everyone in the organization was the leader's identity,
Hmm.
which may have cascaded to the team's identity. But the incredible thing was they really hadn't connected with that. They didn't understand it. That leader's identity um, was the reason that they were top performers. Once they understood that and could see it, then they could perform even at a higher level. At one time, we suggested that the top performers actually have more upside than the bottom performers.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
can achieve levels we can't even dream of once they connect with that identity piece,
Hmm.
and they can pass it on to others. And that became clear. The identity of the top performers, those leaders, was being passed on to the team. They were connecting with it and having it create an identity for themselves as well. And then once we were able to work with them and do an organizational IMBAR and create the identity, mindset, behavior, action, and results of the team, wow, wow, it was really able to move.
Hmm.
And the bottom group, didn't know why they were underperforming. They had excuses generally. But if we got them to connect with that the fact that they were the reason they were underperforming, if that leader could accept that they were the reason, that their identity was cascading to the team and it was creating their mindset, behavior, action, and results. We saw some of the underperformers, the bottom 10%, bottom of the barrel, become top performers
Hmm.
once they could connect with it.
Hmm.
And so it's all there for all of us. And again, we have an IMBAR, we call them maps. We have an IMBAR map for our work. We have an IMBAR map for home. We have an IMBAR map with our team and any team that we're on. And situationally, we may create some IMBAR maps. That's a whole nother topic. But once you understand the flow, you can achieve things that you can't even imagine. The other, I'll let you comment on that, then I'll add one more piece.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that I think it's interesting when you look at the upside, or regardless of your position. So if you have a underperformer, and if they're able to come to grips with their identity as driving their mindset, behavior, action, results, they have this upside. And if you have a performer that's already up here and they can come to grips with this, if they haven't explored this and you help them discover this connection between your identity and your mindset and how that drives your behaviors and actions and results, that can really accelerate. And I think the speed of that acceleration is in direct comparison to where you are as far as being a performer, if you're a top or bottom performer. The speed in which you can, if you're a top performer and you're already understanding what can drive results, and then you connect with some of these other pieces, so the identity and the mindset piece, oh man, then it's like hyperspeed to be able to drive those results.
Yeah, yeah. So picture a whiteboard, horizontal whiteboard. I'm a whiteboard guy.
Yeah.
Brian's more tech oriented. I'm more whiteboard and marker oriented. But picture columns on a whiteboard, uh, vertical columns, I, M, B, A, and R that you're actually filling in. What we found, one of the incredible things we found, is if you know the R, so let's say your company has said, we need $100 million this year, whatever, I'm making up the number. You plug that into the R, you already know the R that you need to achieve, looking out into the future, looking ahead to the year. You then can determine the A, the actions of the team, the B, the behaviors of the leader, The M, the attitude, how we need to think, and then the I, our identity. And you can literally work backwards and create an incredibly powerful transformed state IMBAR to achieve that R. And wow. Once we learned that, it was like off to the races. So we have seen top performers and others achieve results that we couldn't even dream of by simply working backwards instead of left to right, right to left. So when the R is known, plug in the R. When you've got to achieve this specific result, just create an IMBAR for it. Okay, what actions need to be taken to achieve that? Come up with 3 to 5 things that fit that. What are the behaviors of the leaders that need to create those actions? Each column creates the next column. What's our mindset need to be to create the behaviors? And then who do we need to be? What's the I? And it's powerful. We have also found that it works in every aspect of life, every organization, every type of business. It works in Christianity, it works in manufacturing, it works in sales, it works, period. And so today we wanted you to think about determining your current state MBAR as the platform for creating something fantastic, the transformed state MBAR, and achieving results that you couldn't have thought of even.
Hmm. Yeah, I think just the power of curiosity really matters here. In Gapology, we talk about the traits of winning leaders. The number one trait we talk about in the list, and they're not in order, but the first thing we talk about is curiosity. That winning leaders have an eternal curiosity. So that applies here. So if you have a certain result that you're delivering time and time again, if you have that eternal curiosity and you ask why, and then you work backwards through that IMBAR model to that pathway, you'll discover the why. That curiosity can be a huge advocate for the things that you're trying to go after. So be curious, examine that stuff, ask why, continue to ask why multiple times until you discover what is the identity and what is the mindset that's driving those.
Yeah. We found that sometimes underperformers think that results are just by chance,
Yes,
that
totally.
that top performer was
Yep.
just luckier than they were.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
the case.
Circumstance.
Not
Yep.
the case. Not the case. So connect with your current state MBAR to create your transformed state MBAR. And that's what we wanted to leave you with today.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's probably a good place to sort of wrap it up. Any last final pieces of advice? What can people do this week, Mark?
Well, start thinking about the year and what R's you need to achieve, what results you need to achieve, and start creating professional, personal, organizational MBARs to achieve those. It
Hmm.
is so doable. And read read the book MBAR. I was so I was flattered, I guess, in hearing Jerusha. I talked to her on Saturday, and she had completed MBAR and was so amazed by its capability and her teaching of it to executives, out in the islands. And it was great to hear the enthusiasm and her connection with it. So the book worked. She understood it. So the book was well written to the point where, without being in a coaching session with us, she understood it. And I answered a few of her questions, and she was off to the races. So that was exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And we
You
do
can all
have
do it.
other, yeah, we do have other podcasts on this topic as well. If you want to scroll back, I know not everybody likes to scroll back in time, but we've done some other podcasts on this as well. But take a look at this. Ask yourself, who am I? Ask yourself that question. Start there. I think that's a lot of great insight can come from that. Who am I? And then And then from that, how do I think and feel based on that identity? Just start there. I think there's a lot of great things that can come from that.
Yeah, and ultimately to become who can I be? You
Yeah,
know.
totally.
Yeah.
That's the outcome that
Yeah.
you're looking for. Right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. We'll talk to you on the next podcast.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. All right, that'll do it from here. For more information on IMBAR or anything Gapology related, head on over to our website, gapology.org. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.